When you're 14, you think you know the world. You believe the walls of your home hold no mysteries, that your parents are exactly who they say they are, and that your life is simple and predictable. At least that's what Olivia thought. Her mornings always began the same way. The faint smell of toast drifting from the kitchen, the sound of the old kettle whistling, her mother's soft voice calling, "Time to get up." Sometimes she would groan, bury her face in the pillow, and pretend to sleep a little longer. But eventually she'd rise, pull on her school uniform, and glance at herself in the mirror. 14 years old. Not a child anymore, not quite an adult. Somewhere in between. Downstairs, the kitchen was alive with warmth. Her mother stood at the stove flipping eggs, her father scanned the newspaper, and her younger brother tapped impatiently at the table, waiting for breakfast. On the surface, it was the portrait of an ordinary family. Yet, in small moments, Olivia noticed things she couldn't explain. Once, when she reached for the photo album kept on the living room shelf, her mother quickly said, "Not that one, honey, choose another." Another time, she caught her father lowering his voice when the phone rang. His words too soft to hear but his tone strangely heavy. At 14, curiosity is sharper than caution. She began to notice every hushed glance, every subtle pause in conversation when she walked into the room. But before those questions took shape, she lived the life of a typical teenager. School filled most of her days. She sat by the window in math class, tapping her pencil against the desk, half listening to the teacher while her mind wandered. At lunch, she laughed with her best friend, Anna, about silly rumors that circled the hallways. They shared secrets, borrowed each other's pens, and made promises they swore would last forever. Evenings carried their own rhythm. Homework at the dining table, the smell of dinner cooking, and the steady hum of her father's voice talking about work. Afterward, she sometimes watched television with her brother or helped her mother fold laundry. Life felt safe, familiar, unshakable. And yet, there were cracks in that certainty. One Saturday, as rain tapped softly against the windows, Olivia wandered into the attic looking for an old board game. Dust floated in the air like tiny snowflakes. Boxes were stacked high, labeled with black marker. Books, clothes, Christmas. She reached for one marked memories. Inside, she expected to find old greeting cards or school drawings. Instead, she discovered a collection of photographs. Some she recognized. Family birthdays, beach trips, Christmas mornings. But one picture froze her. A baby wrapped in a blanket, her mother's arms cradling it gently. Her father stood beside them, smiling but oddly stiff. The photo felt different, as though it didn't belong with the rest. She stared at the tiny face, wondering why her own eyes didn't quite match, why her hair seemed darker in those earliest pictures. Before she could study further, her mother's voice echoed from downstairs. "Olivia, what are you doing up there?" Quickly, she slipped the photo back into the box and closed it. That evening, she couldn't stop thinking about it. At dinner, her father asked about school, her mother passed the salad bowl, her brother joked about his friends. Normal. Completely normal. Yet, the photograph lingered in her mind like a whisper she couldn't ignore. Later, she tried to push the thought aside by focusing on her homework, but every time her pen touched paper, she saw that baby's face again. Was it me? Was there something they weren't telling me? The questions grew heavier the more she noticed the little things. The way her parents sometimes exchanged glances when she asked about old family stories. The way her grandmother once slipped and said, "When you first came to us," before quickly changing the subject. The first time she dared to bring it up, it was casual. She and her mother were in the garden pulling weeds. The air smelled of damp earth, and the sun dipped low behind the trees. "Mom," she said, hesitating as she tugged at a stubborn root, "do you remember when I was born?" Her mother froze for a second, then smiled too quickly. "Of course. You were tiny but strong. Why do you ask?" "I don't know. Just curious." Her mother brushed the dirt from her hands and changed the subject to the roses. But that half-second pause told Olivia more than the words that followed. The unease followed her to school. During history class, She found herself staring at her notebook without hearing a single word. At lunch, Anna noticed her silence. "You okay? You look like you're somewhere else." "I'm fine," Olivia lied, forcing a smile. "Just tired." But the truth pressed harder each day. She wasn't just tired. She was restless, haunted by the sense that she was standing on the edge of a story she didn't fully know. One night, long after everyone else had gone to bed, she lay awake staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet, except for the faint ticking of the hallway clock. Her thoughts churned. Why did Mom stop me from looking at that album? Why does Dad avoid certain questions? Who was that baby in the photo? 14 secrets feel like locked doors. And Olivia could sense, deep in her heart, that one of those doors was waiting to be opened. The questions grew louder in Olivia's mind, like a voice she couldn't silence. Each day, the unease pressed harder, demanding answers. She told herself she was imagining things, that her family was simply private. But late one night, the truth slipped into her hands in the most unexpected way. It happened on a Thursday. Rain tapped the windows as she searched her mother's desk for a pen. A drawer stuck halfway open, and when she tugged harder, an envelope slid out. Her name was written on the front, in her mother's handwriting. Her pulse raced. She knew she shouldn't open it, but curiosity won. Carefully, she unfolded the paper. "Our dearest Olivia, one day when you are old enough, we will share this truth with you." Her breath caught. The letter spoke of how she came into their lives, not by birth but by choice. Her mother hadn't carried her. Another woman had. They had waited for years, prayed for a child, and then she came along. The words blurred as tears welled in her eyes. Adopted. That single word rearranged everything she thought she knew. She placed the letter back quickly, hands trembling, but the damage was done. At dinner that night, she could barely swallow. Her father chatted about work, her brother joked. Her mother poured water into glasses as if nothing had changed. But to Olivia, the room felt different. Hollow, fragile. Finally, she couldn't hold it in. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" Her voice cracked across the table. The room froze. Her father lowered his fork slowly. Her mother's hand shook as she set the glass down. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" her mother asked, though her eyes already knew. "I found the letter," Olivia whispered. "You lied to me my whole life. I'm not really your daughter, am I?" Silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Her father's voice broke it, quiet but steady. "You are our daughter. In every way that matters." "That's not what the letter said," she shot back, tears slipping down her face. "You hid the truth from me." Her brother looked from one parent to the other, confused and pale. "What's going on?" Her mother reached across the table, but Olivia pulled back. "We should have told you," her mother admitted softly. "We wanted to wait until you were ready. But then time passed and we grew afraid. Afraid of losing the trust we had with you." "You already lost it," Olivia said, her chair scraping against the floor as she stood. She locked herself in her room, pressing her forehead against the cool windowpane. Rain streaked down the glass, matching the tears on her cheeks. Her chest ached with a pain she couldn't describe. Anna texted asking about homework, but Olivia ignored it. How could she talk about history dates when her entire life felt like a lie? When her mother knocked gently an hour later, Olivia didn't answer. She couldn't. The sound of the knock itself felt like betrayal. The following days blurred together. At school, she went through the motions, nodding when teachers called her name, forcing a smile at Anna's jokes. But inside she was unraveling. Who was she, if not the daughter she believed herself to be? Where did she really come from? That weekend, she avoided the family entirely. She stayed in her room, sketching absent-mindedly, reading books without absorbing a word. Her father knocked once, her brother twice, but she kept silent. On Sunday evening, her father finally entered without waiting for permission. He sat on the edge of her bed, his shoulders heavier than she had ever seen. "You must hate us," he said quietly. She didn't answer. He continued, We never wanted to deceive you. We wanted to protect you. We thought if you grew up surrounded by love, you would never feel different. But I see now that keeping the truth hidden only hurt you more." Olivia looked at him, then really looked. His eyes were tired, but filled with sorrow and sincerity. "Why didn't you trust me enough to tell me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Because we were afraid you'd think love required blood. We feared you'd see us as strangers, not parents." Her throat tightened. "But you are my parents. That's what makes it worse. You didn't need to lie." That night, she finally faced her mother. They sat in the living room, the TV off, the house quiet. "I wanted to tell you so many times," her mother confessed, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Every time you asked about when you were a baby, I froze. I thought, if I told you too soon, you'd feel abandoned. If I told you too late, you'd feel betrayed. And somehow, I managed to do both." Olivia swallowed hard. Who was she? The woman who had me. Her mother hesitated, then whispered, "A young woman who couldn't care for you the way she wanted. She gave us the greatest gift of our lives. She gave us you." The words landed heavy, a mixture of pain and strange comfort. In the days that followed, anger gave way to confusion. She walked to school lost in thought, sat through classes without hearing a word, and scribbled questions in the margins of her notebooks. Who am I? Do I look like her? Would she recognize me if we met? Her brother tried to lighten the mood one night, nudging her shoulder. "You're still the same annoying sister who steals my fries. Doesn't matter where you came from." For the first time in days she laughed, a short, surprised sound. But the wound remained. Trust once broken doesn't heal overnight. Each glance at her parents carried weight. Each smile felt uncertain. Still, something fragile was beginning to shift. The secret was out. The silence was broken. And though the truth had shaken her world, it also cracked open the possibility of healing. For now, Olivia stood in the middle of the storm, unsure of what the future held, but no longer blind to it. The house felt different after the truth came out. Conversations carried an invisible weight, meals were quieter, and footsteps echoed in the silence. Olivia didn't slam doors anymore, but she also didn't smile easily. Her parents gave her space, stepping carefully, as if one wrong word might break the fragile truce between them. Yet, beneath the awkwardness, something unexpected began to grow. Honesty. The wall of silence had cracked, and through that crack, light slowly seeped in. One Saturday morning, her mother tapped gently on her door. "Would you like to help me in the garden?" Olivia hesitated, then nodded. The sun was bright, the soil damp from yesterday's rain. They worked side by side in silence at first, pulling weeds, planting herbs. Finally, her mother spoke. "When I was your age," she said softly, "I also felt like I didn't belong. My family moved often, and I was always the new girl. I never told you that before. I suppose I thought my own stories didn't matter." Olivia looked up, surprised. Her mother rarely spoke about her past. Her mother continued, "When we found out we couldn't have children, I thought my life was empty. But the day we held you, everything changed. You filled that space, Olivia. You gave me back joy I thought I'd lost forever." Tears stung Olivia's eyes. "But why didn't you just tell me? I wouldn't have loved you less." Her mother placed a hand on hers. "I know that now. I should have trusted your strength." Later that evening, her father joined her in the living room. He carried a small wooden box, worn at the corners. "This belonged to your birth mother," he said gently. "She wanted you to have it one day." Olivia's breath caught as she opened it. Inside lay a silver bracelet, simple but elegant, and a folded note yellowed with age. Her hands trembled as she read the words. "To my little girl. I cannot keep you, but I will love you forever. Please forgive me. May this bracelet remind you that you were always wanted, even if not by me. M." Olivia pressed the bracelet to her chest, tears slipping down her cheeks. For the first time she didn't feel anger, just sorrow mixed with gratitude. Her father's voice was quiet. She made the hardest choice a person can make. We wanted you to know that your story began with love, not abandonment. Olivia whispered. I don't hate her. I don't hate either of you. I just needed to understand. The following week at school, Anna cornered her by the lockers. You've been weird lately, Anna said bluntly. What's going on? Olivia hesitated, then sighed. I found out I'm adopted. Anna's eyes widened, but she didn't gasp or whisper. Instead, she shrugged. So what? You still have parents who love you. Half the kids in this school wish they had that. Olivia blinked. You're not shocked. Of course I'm shocked. But it doesn't change who you are. You're still the girl who beat me in the spelling bee and laughs too loudly at dumb jokes. For the first time in weeks, Olivia laughed without forcing it. At home, the atmosphere began to warm. Her brother teased her again, her father cracked his dry jokes, and her mother hummed while cooking. The heavy silence slowly lifted, replaced with cautious laughter. One evening after dinner, her father suggested, "Why don't we start a new tradition? Sunday nights, no phones, no TV. Just us." Her brother groaned, but Olivia surprised herself by saying, "I like that idea." They played board games, told stories, and even argued over the rules. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real. As weeks passed, Olivia noticed changes in herself. She no longer walked through school hallways feeling invisible. She carried the bracelet in her pocket during exams, touching it whenever doubt crept in. It reminded her she came from strength. Two kinds of love, not just one. Her diary, once filled with angry questions, now held reflections. Maybe identity isn't one truth. Maybe it's layers, what you're given, what you choose, and who you decide to become. One evening, she sat with her mother on the porch, watching the sky shift from gold to violet. Do you think I'll ever meet her? Olivia asked softly. Her mother considered before answering. If you want to someday, we'll support you. But remember, meeting her won't change the love we've built here. This home is yours always. Olivia nodded slowly. I know. And I'm grateful. Her mother squeezed her hand, saying nothing more. The silence between them wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful. By autumn, the secret that once shattered her world became a piece of her strength. She walked into her 15th birthday with a different heart. She cut the cake, laughed with her family, and when she opened her gifts, she noticed her parents watching her not with fear, but with pride. After the party, she slipped upstairs, fastening the silver bracelet around her wrist. She looked in the mirror and whispered to herself, I'm not broken. I'm more whole than I ever knew. The story of being 14 wasn't about losing innocence. It was about finding resilience. Secrets had hurt her, yes, but they had also given her perspective. She saw her parents' flaws, but she also saw their courage. She knew her birth mother's absence, but also her sacrifice. As she lay in bed that night, she realized something profound. Being 14 wasn't the end of childhood or the beginning of adulthood. It was the bridge between, where truths collide with dreams, and where strength is quietly born. Olivia closed her eyes with a calm she hadn't felt in months. Tomorrow would bring its own questions, but tonight she finally felt at peace.